Welcome to the activation phase. This is the last and final episode of Age of Chivalry. Today, I'm joined by Tim, as per usual.
Hello.
I'm JP. I realize I've just flipped that. Normally I say the other way around. But anyway.
Whoa.
This is I think this is going to be a mega episode. We are covering the Condottiere. This is like the Greek city-states of chivalry. There's, how many are there? There are five factions. Each with some special equipment, special rules, and also some additional special units included as well. So the way we're organizing this particular episode is we will tackle the faction, kind of the overall faction rule first. We'll tackle the battle board, and then finally we're going to talk about the different city-states and the special rules associated with that. Otherwise, I think it doesn't make a lot of sense, and we'll spend probably about half an hour talking about different equipment options and whatever, without the context of the battle board. So, just to give you just to make sure that people understand, we are going to talk about everything. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So, should we dive into the fluff maybe first? So, this is a little bit of a strange faction, especially in the Age of Chivalry. This is the Italian city-states, I guess. Various princedoms, city-states, other things like Venice, Florence, Milan, Naples, and Venice. I'm sure people who know more about it probably think that they're missing something, but I don't know enough about Italian history to say whether that is the case or not. The period of that this covers is a little bit later in the 100 years period. I think it's kind of the I don't exactly remember when, but Italy had a ongoing warfare problem for a long period of time around the end of the I guess the 1400s, something like that, maybe a little bit earlier. So this is the heavily militarized and mercenarized warbands roaming the countryside. So it's a little bit more professional armies and a little bit different tactics. And also it gives you a really good chance to do some pretty cool modeling as well. So the Perry have like some drop-on heads, like some metal heads you can drop onto some of the later plastic kits as well, with like extra feathers and hats and shields and stuff like that to make them a little bit more Italian. So it's I guess you have a completely different world opening up to you for modeling as well. All right, that's the fluff. What about the special rules? You want to take this one, Tim?
Yeah, right. I can have the book this time. So let's talk about their main special rule that is important to all five factions, and it's discipline. So you basically have discipline tokens, and you can have between 0 and 4. And as soon as you acquire 3 discipline tokens, you are disciplined. And these fall off at the start of your orders phase. So basically each turn you make yourself disciplined for your turn and your opponent's turn. So how do you get disciplined? It's quite easy. You just need to, for each basic action, so that's a move activation, a rest activation, a shoot activation, and a charge activation, you can get 1 discipline token. So if you perform 3 of those, so you rest something, you shoot with something, and you charge something, for example, you have 3 discipline tokens, and then you are disciplined. And there's also an ability in the special rule in the advanced saga abilities here that gives you an additional discipline token. So I found it's very easy actually to become disciplined, especially if you build your warband for it. So you have a 4-man of warriors that just generate a saga die that always maneuver in your turn to give you that move discipline, so you don't have to make a weird move somewhere else. So I felt that getting disciplined is very easy, and when you are disciplined, all of your abilities, basically most of your abilities come online. So they change from a okay bonus for the saga day you pay for it for a very good bonus for the saga that you pay for it. So you definitely want to be disciplined, and it takes some planning, but usually not that hard. All right, ready to go into the battle board, JP?
Yep, absolutely. Also good to mention that this particular battle board is not does not have a FAQ yet, so there's no changes there. So we're just reading straight from the board. Okay, so the basic abilities are exactly as you would expect. There's no difference there, so nice and easy. The only thing is they have very nice titles. So Cavalieri for Hearth cards, Hero, Provvisionati for the warriors, and Militia for the peasants, and then finally combat bonus activation pool, exactly the same. So same as usual, really. Nothing special on that particular part of the board.
All right, so let's get right into the advanced saga abilities, and the first one is called Against All Comers. It's an orders reaction that takes a rare. It says you can remove a fatigue from one mounted unit and one foot unit, neither can be mercenaries. If you're disciplined, they each get 2 bonus defense dice during the first melee or shooting attack they are involved in this turn. So, right from the get-go, this promotes a mixed army style. So you want to have some foot, some mounted if you want to use this ability. And removing 2 fatigue and gaining 4 bonus defense dice is actually a really good value for a rare. Usually it's 2 fatigues already. You do that for the rare, but then you also gain these bonus defense dice. So I really like this ability, and it's definitely a place that can take the rare very well, and you should consider doing this and building your warband around having some mounted, some foot, just so you can use this, because this is good value in my opinion.
Yeah, also the orders reaction timing as well means that you can be
really
after
nice.
a melee or whatever. Like that's one of the best times to have a removal of fatigue, especially on 2 units. So starting off really strong here.
Maybe just one quick note. Julie, who designed this board, said that, said in the upcoming FAQ, it's going to say that you only get the bonus defense dice on these 2 units if you actually took off a fatigue. So you can't pick 2 units and then one of them doesn't even have fatigue, but you still want to do that to get 1 fatigue off, and 2 times 2 bonus defense dice doesn't work. Just as a clarification. So you have to take off fatigue to get the bonus defense dice.
Yeah, so this is already included in the FAQ. So to me, it seems kind of like somewhat obvious that this was.
I tried to game it. Yeah.
So anyway, so now that's been shut down. So good. Okay, the next one I get the one I don't know how to pronounce. Sforzeshi Tactics. Cool. This is 2 dice ability using a common plus an uncommon. It's an activation. Activate a mounted unit to charge. The enemy unit suffers a fatigue before the start of the melee. And then finally, if you are disciplined at the end of the melee, your unit can activate for a movement that generates no fatigue. So there's a lot going on here. There's also a bunch of clarifications as well, both in the rule book or the age book itself. That it describes basically you can use this to become disciplined, essentially. I think that goes without say. A charge is a charge, so if it's the first charge of the turn, it gives a discipline token. So in principle, that means you could become disciplined at the end of the melee. Finally, as well, getting just talking about the effects of the ability itself. Obviously, 2 dice ability, but you're getting a lot out of this. You're getting both a charge and a fatigue, and then a fatigue-free move. So 2 dice, essentially 3 activations in one of which is fatigue-free. So this one is pretty sweet. I think there's some very good combinations as well, especially when we start looking at the breakdown of the subfactions. With like the movements of like Death Stars and stuff like that. But all in all, pretty solid ability for 2 dice. I think this is like one of the key abilities of this particular battle board.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, just thinking about, you want to bring your mounted units, and mounted units suffer heavily into pikes. And if you play this into pikes, then they don't get their buff, and you're a lot more survivable, or you'll survive a lot more hits, which is super important, especially for your Hearthguard. That +1 hurts a lot. So the fatigue is so nice. If you want to live, you just leave it on, and if you want to kill them, you just take it off. It's so good. Such a good ability.
Yeah, also good to say that if this is the last activation of your turn, you are running away from the pikes, so you're not going to withdraw and still be within shooting range. So it's like a nice little in this age of crossbow and pike. I think this is a nice little thing to make you even more survivable.
And many times, people, when I played this, many times people took off the fatigue to shorten the move, and so then this ability reads charge, put a fatigue on your opponent, and you gain no fatigue, and you get to still move for short. So then this is insane value. So I really like this. Such a good ability. Okay, next up is Deceptive Maneuvers. It's an activation that takes an uncommon. Activate a unit to move with a distance bonus of short bonus distance, I think. If it ends its activation within medium of an enemy unit, gain 1 discipline token. So this is just a clean move to be quicker. With some of these subfactions really love this, some think it's okay. But yeah, this is good for mounted, this is good for foot units, this is just even without if it ends its activation within medium, this is just a good ability to, if you run warrior heavy warbands, for example, then having a move for an uncommon with bonus distance still. So I think this is really, really good in the early game, and then in the late game, if you want to move something anyway, and you want to get that as an extra discipline token, then this is already good. So I think it's just a nice ability.
Yeah, especially if you need that extra discipline in the second part to be, if you don't have like a shooting or like a rest or something like that, like you have a move, so you already get a discipline token, and then you're going to be, even if you're on foot, you're going to be within M of an enemy. You get the extra discipline, and then finally you charge, which means that you're disciplined at the beginning of the melee, and that's really important for the rest of the abilities on this board as well. But all right, I think that's all in all pretty sweet. So I seem to be getting the double the 2 dice abilities here. So the next one is called Challenge Accepted. It's 2 common dice. It's a melee ability. So increase your unit's armor by 1. In addition, if you are disciplined, then instead of resolving withdrawal normally, the enemy unit must withdraw M. All right. Plus armor, always good. I mean, there's no downside to having more armor. I think if the withdrawal side, I assume even if you lose, then the enemy must withdraw by M.
Yeah.
So I guess objective play is going to be pretty nifty. Like, you're not going to be pushed off objectives, especially if they're being scored in your turn, and especially if you get pushed away M. Normally, that's enough to get like the opponent's units further than the short you need to contest objective. So I think that's all in all, that's pretty sweet as well. Also means that you push them out of pike range, and those kind of easy activations that can cause you grief later on in your opponent's turn. So I think all in all, pretty sweet. I'm sure there's some edge cases there as well. I guess even if you're just a foot unit and you have a fatigue at the end of the charge, it means now you either have to rest, or your opponent either has to rest their unit to be able to charge you in, or they're gonna have to charge in, and then or you can like shorten the move basically and make sure they can't charge you. So I think there's lots of applications with very few downsides for this particular ability.
I think this is, on paper, it's really nice because you assume people would actually withdraw medium, but at least in like really competitive play, since only the first figure that withdraws needs to go back basically straight away from you, and all other figures just need to move M, but in any direction. I feel like it doesn't really change anything, because yes, the first figure is far away, and so they probably can't shoot with their pikes. But all the other figures basically just move around, and it's a bit harder, sure, to stay in unit coherency and stuff. But still, they can still end up within half an inch of your unit after withdrawing, and that's completely legal. Just because you don't actually need to move away with the other figures, but you can move them in any direction. So I feel like this is really, really good protection if you want to make sure that you're not moved, even if you lose your melee. So that works. But this doesn't push back an opponent at all if they don't want to be pushed back. Just like any other situation where you withdraw and you can do the shenanigans, you can still do it with a medium. It's just a bit harder, maybe. But I feel like this is a maybe not the strongest ability. It's just very good to live on objectives and keep them. But everything else, I feel like two commons for armor is maybe okay for Hearthguard, but everything for the others, I don't think that's for your levy or warriors or something. I don't think that's super good. Unclear. All right.
Okay.
Next up is In the City's Service. It's a melee ability that takes a common and an uncommon, and it says if you're disciplined, gain 3 attack dice. Yeah, that's a tough one. Hard to grasp, really. No, I think it's just... I mean, yeah, if you're not disciplined, you gain nothing, so you would never play this. And then, yeah, if you're disciplined, 3 attack dice for common. JP, I feel like that's the normal rate. We know this. Maybe a bit better than... Sometimes it's just 2, but sometimes it's 4. So I feel like 3 is just... It's good.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. You have extra condition, but I think it's relatively easy to meet that condition. So you'll normally there's no Why would you play this if you're not? Okay, next one. Flower of Battle. This is again either a common or an uncommon dice, and it's a melee ability. If your opponent has increased their armor since the start of the melee, gain 4 defense dice. If they reduced your armor, gain 4 attack dice. So the clarification here is also that if you trigger this after your opponent has used your fatigue to both increase and decrease, or increase their armor and decrease your armor, I guess it doesn't even have to be using your fatigue. I guess the way it's worded, it also means that if you have an ability that increases your armor, for example, the one we previously covered, like if you're fighting against other Condottiere that have played Challenge Accepted, then you get basically both of these things can be triggered. So this is something you're looking to play at the end. It does mean that people might be a little bit hesitant to use your fatigue. I mean, 4 defense and plus 4 attack dice if you're playing like for a common, it's pretty sweet. I mean, yes, you are potentially your armor is worse and everything, but if you're just looking to like kill things, this is absolutely sweet, especially for common. I think it makes a nice little mind game for your opponent as well. So, interesting little ability.
It's really interesting, right? And because if they get more defensive, then you get more defensive. And if they get more offensive, then you get more offensive, which is exactly the right way to play it. Other way around, I'm super happy they did it this way and not if they get more defense, you gain more attack dice, and the other way around. I think, it's really nice. And just putting a die on here early is annoying as heck, because then every single melee they have to think about, do I take the fatigue or not? Because giving someone a 4 attack or defense dice for a common is just insane, and you never want to do that. So just put a die here early and leave it be, and see your opponent struggle and cry.
The thing is, it's so flexible as well. It really doesn't matter if like what happens. Like it's especially for common. Like, why would you not put this down? It's just good. Whatever happens, I'd be happy to get the bonus dice.
All right. Next up is mine. Yeah, mine. All right. It's defensive position, and it's a shooting reaction that takes any die facing, and it says gain 2 defense dice or 3 if you're disciplined. If you use a rare, you get a +1 bonus to your defense dice. Then, if you have at least one discipline token, you may discard all your tokens to roll one saga die and place it on this ability. You can trigger this ability again during this turn. So,
there's a lot going on here. Let's break it down.
To break it down for a common, and let's assume you're disciplined, because you're always good. I mean, yeah, you're always going to be disciplined. I really never struggled with that. So yeah, let's assume you're disciplined. If you put a common on this is just three defense dice in a shooting reaction. That also is the same for non-common. If you put a rare on this, then it's 3 defense dice on a shooting reaction with an additional +1 bonus to your defense dice. So that's that makes you very survivable. And then, in addition, you remove all your discipline tokens. You can, I should say, and roll a saga die, place it back on this ability, and you can trigger it again. So that's going to be, because then you're not going to be disciplined anymore. That's going to be 2 defense dice for a common or an uncommon, and 2 defense dice for a rare, but also with a +1 bonus to all your defense dice. So this is just a very good way to stay safe on when being shot. And I think a common on here for 3 defense dice on a shooting reaction is always going to be nice if you're going into faction that shoots a lot. And then the rare can be good, but it also can trap you to discard your tokens early when your opponent is still charging and you have other abilities that you want to use. So common, I think, is good. Rare, I think, is not that great.
Yeah, I think this is like placed on like a barded. If you're using this on like barded Hearthguard or something like that, it becomes very tough to shift them. I think that the second part where you have to discard your discipline token to roll this at the end again, I think it can be a little bit of a trap. Like, obviously you wouldn't do this at the beginning of your turn, because if you're getting charged or whatever, you're just completely shooting yourself in the foot for a marginal increase in survivability. I think maybe at the end of the turn, if they only have some shooting left, and then I think it would make sense. But because they're going to be your discipline tokens are going to reset at the end of or before your orders phase anyway. So I think on that case, yes, but yeah, I'm not sure how many times it would be relevant to trigger for a second time.
Your opponent can control when they shoot you, right? Yeah. So they'll never give you the good option of shooting you in the end.
Yeah. So I think it sounds good on paper, but probably most of the time you're not going to get to trigger it a second time, unfortunately.
Maybe the rare is better into pikes, right? Because they usually poke after the melee. So the rare could be quite good if your opponent's going to charge into units with pikes, and they're going to poke after. I'll just put a rare here. Yeah, maybe then, but tough.
Yeah, I mean, if you have loads of, there's not that many other abilities except for the what's it called, the against all comers that require a rare. So if you have 2 rares, you'll be actually no. The next one is.
Let's go for the next one. Yeah.
Let's talk about the next one. So yeah, I guess you have to roll a lot of rares for this to make sense. Okay, the next one is Braccesi Tactics. This is using only a rare. It's an activation reaction. Trigger this ability after a unit is activated to charge, but before the charge is resolved. Your opponent must move 1 saga die placed on an advanced ability with only a single die to their combat bonus. If you're disciplined, the target of the charge increases their armor by 1 in the ensuing melee. Okay, so this is again, these abilities are very wordy, so let's break this one down as well. Just a reminder, after reading that paragraph, it is just an activation reaction, so it does mean you're going to be on the receiving end of the charge here. So the obvious play here is if they have some kind of like Death Star combo units, this can reduce that a little bit by making sure that one of their abilities doesn't work anymore. However, your opponent does have the choice as to which ability they need to remove from their board. So it could just take something that isn't particularly relevant, or it does have to be an advanced ability, so it's not like they can remove like a combat bonus dice or something else. But so that's a little bit of a mind game you can play to make sure that they have something or something extra loaded onto their board. However, the next part is also interesting as well, because there you are increasing your armor by 1 during the melee, which is pretty amazing. So I guess it does combine with the challenge accepted from earlier, where you can potentially increase your armor by 2. That makes it pretty nice. I think all in all, it's like a nice little ability. It makes your Hearthguard very survivable, especially if you're kind of combining it. If you're rolling really well with the rares, with the against all comers, because you do have some pretty good abilities to play in your opponent's turn, actually. But yeah, there you're going to run low on rare dice if you manage to roll so many. All in all, I think it's a good ability, but I think the against all comers probably more relevant, and probably the place I would put the rare before I would put it on this particular ability.
I agree. I mean, it really depends if you plan to charge twice or with 2 different units, so you get max value from the other one, and if you don't, you just want to sit there or just move up or something, then I think this one's really nice. But in my opinion, it's just an armor increase when being charged with a little sprinkle on the side of, your opponent needs to put or drop 1 die. So if you're not disciplined, never ever play this. And if you're disciplined, it's just a nice armor increase on your Hearthguard. It's super good, and everything else still obviously very good.
Yeah, I think at some point it's probably going to be annoying for your opponent that they drop like some kind of good ability from their board, but I guess it's a nice little bonus. I guess you can play around with it as well as your opponent.
Yeah,
but I think it's psychologically probably more threatening than how it will turn out on the board.
Right. All right. Next up is Hang Together. It's a melee ability that takes an uncommon. And it says you can reroll all your defense dice, which score 1s or 2s. And if you're disciplined, reroll all your defense dice that don't cancel a hit. This is insane. This should be, yes, there's a condition applied, quote unquote, that you need to be disciplined, but you're always disciplined. And so an uncommon that says reroll all your defense dice that don't cancel a hit is absolutely bonkers good. And I think probably one of my favorite abilities value-wise. If you compare that to any other battle board that has an ability like that, it's always going to be more expensive or more conditions only when defending or attacking. You can always do this, and it's going to be, you need to be disciplined. But you just get to reroll all your defense dice that don't cancel a hit. Oof, so good.
Yeah, I think so. It's solid, no downside. The last one is called the Boar's Tooth. So this is using all, or you can use all dice facing. It's a melee ability. Gain 2 defense dice or 4 defense dice if you use a rare. Nice and simple. No condition here that you need to be disciplined or anything. So this will always be relevant. Probably one of the least interesting places to put the rare, but still, I think all in all, it's a solid ability. Can't go wrong with defense dice. And why would you put combat bonus when you have this for your rare? But anyway, okay. I think we have come to the end of the battle board itself. One thing maybe to note as well is that you don't get a ton of attack dice on this board. Just going through it, I think the Flower of Battle, you potentially get 4 attack dice if they reduce your armor. In the city service, you get 3 attack dice if you're disciplined. And what else? I think that's it. The rest is you just get defense dice, actually.
Yeah,
and you can get fatigue-free moves. Yeah. So I think it's so in that sense, it's you're relying on just like the brute force from your units to cause damage, and the quality by rerolls, etc., that you survive longer than your opponent, rather than actually like doing one big hit where you kill people. So I think that will form our next part of the discussion, where we are talking about the various subfactions, the special rules, and the warband composition.
Let's do it.
All right. All right. This is going to be a long section, so I think we're already about half an hour in just talking about the battle board itself. So let's grab the book. As we said at the beginning, we have 5 subfactions. So the discipline is relevant still for all of the subfactions. We are going to go through these relatively quickly and picking out only like the big differences. Otherwise, this is going to be an incredibly long, long episode. One thing to say as well, I have not played yet against all of 5 variants or with all 5 variants. So I think at the moment I am limited to having played against Milan. So I don't know if you've seen some more on the table, but
Yeah,
I have quite limited.
Yeah, let's
Right.
just. I mean, they have some signature units, right, and then signature ability. So let's. Do you want to start us off with Florence?
Sure. This is probably one that is the weakest, I would say, at least the way I'm seeing this. So I'm just going to grab the old. Let's start off maybe with the special rule, and then we'll talk about the equipment options. So Florence, loads of rich families, bankers, etc. So the way that this is represented on the board is that during your orders phase, you can choose to rule 1 additional available saga dice. If you do so, your opponent immediately rolls 1 available saga dice and places on a basic ability on their board. You can use this special rule once per orders phase. So a little bit of like an upside, also upside for your opponent as well, if they have available saga dice. So I don't know. It's okay. I guess it comes in handy every once in a while, but it's probably also helps your opponent. I guess you're doing this more at the end of the game where you're having a little bit of trouble generating sufficient dice, in which case your opponent should also be having trouble generating dice, so they're probably quite happy this happens. So I don't know. I'm not super impressed by this. I'm sure it comes like it can save your bacon every once in a while, but it's okay.
Yep. Just
Right.
just to quickly jump in, and then we can go to the equipment options. I feel like if you play Florence, you want to do this every turn, right? You bring an army that benefits more from that additional saga die than your opponent. So you bring an army that only generates like 5 saga dice, and because you have huge units that generate these big amounts of attack dice, and you pay for it. So it's that could be 4 times 12 warriors, for example. And then you only have 5 dice, but you get an additional. And yeah, your opponent can also get one, but the additional die isn't worth as much to them because they have more, and it's also only for a basic ability. So I think if you play Florence, you want to do it every turn and build your warband for it.
Yep. All right. So the ability or the units which you can take as a Florentine warband. So your warlord and Hearthguard have the same options. They can either be mounted on horses or horses with barding. The warriors are either with no special equipment or with pephises with the usual maximum 1 unit. Finally, levies either have nothing.
Nice.
So just melee levies. Big fan. And or they have crossbows. So pretty reasonable. But I don't know. How would you build a Florentine unit? Just lots of warriors on foot with no special equipment?
Yeah, honestly, don't know. Probably half big warrior units, and maybe 1 unit with Pevises if you know your opponent's bringing shooting, and then half your points in Hearthguard. So 6 Hearthguard, 6 Hearthguard, 12 warriors, and then depending on the amount of shooting they have, you either bring Pevises and barding or no barding and no Pevises. I feel like that just works. I saw it played and I felt it just worked.
Yeah, I think that one would work. I would probably substitute out like the mounted crossbows somewhere in there as well.
Yeah,
Because
good
then you
shout. Yeah.
also yeah, it helps you with the discipline side because they can shoot and then have like a move as well. So you get auto 2 discipline tokens for one dice. Especially because you can't do the trick where you have like a small unit doing a maneuver if you're organizing it the way you suggested. And then finally, you have a little bit of shooting, and you also have even more buffing in terms of having your the extra combat, the extra bonus dice in melee with the mounted crossbows as well. I think taking levies, like melee levies, I don't see It's going to be
I
an
mean,
incredible slog. You're going to be so
yeah, me
incredibly
either, yeah.
defensive without being able to kill anything. Because here the really is the lack of good attack dice options if you're taking those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then shooting, you're also not particularly supported by the board. I mean, crossbows are good on their own, but you don't really have like extra attack dice or anything else except for the no, I was going to say combat bonus, but that's not relevant in this age. So.
It doesn't work, yeah.
Never mind. Okay, so next one.
Yeah.
Am I
Right.
doing this one, or do you want
I
to
think
grab
I'll
it?
do this one. Yeah. And it'll be the Papal States, right? Is it for the Pope? I think
Yes.
maybe. Right.
It's
So,
me.
all right.
So also, it means that we have covered the Romans in every single book, I think. So we're good.
Yeah. So their special rule is you start with 3 advice of clergy markers, which you can represent with anything. Doesn't really matter. During your orders phase, you can discard one of these clergy markers to reroll half your inactive saga dice. And you can discard several markers during the same orders phase. So you basically have a way to make sure you get the right dice facings more often. But once your warlord dies, this special rule goes away. I personally think this is by far the weakest, because these rerolls, yeah, sure, you can fish for some more rares, but of course this is more effective with increasing amount of saga dice. So you want to have small units, which doesn't really work with this battle board, because you need to generate attack dice through big units. And so, yeah, tough special rule. But let's go through the units they can bring. So the Warlord and Hearthguard can be on foot, mounted, or mounted with barding. Your warriors can be on foot or can bring bows, but the unit of warriors with bows, amount of unit with warriors with bows can't exceed the number of Hearthguard units. Then your levies can have crossbows, so that's nice. And you can bring a Flemish wagon, which isn't the best wagon. So I don't like this at all. Nothing here. So I'd be very sad if I had to play this.
Yeah, I think the rules themselves don't seem particularly good, but the reason I think people would be playing this is for the what's it called, Carrocchio, whatever, the Pope Mobile,
Right.
that you can bring. The model is pretty cool. It's basically like a rolling altar. So I guess if you're playing it, it's probably going to be more for fluff reasons rather than that you're trying to be a power gamer. But
I can't help myself.
I'm also not. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I think it's going to be okay. Like, sure, try it, but I don't think you gain much. You're already incredibly defensively oriented. Adding a wagon for no reason makes you even more defensive if you want.
More slow.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see it, but who knows?
All right,
I think
next one.
we're not even giving a.
No.
Are we going to give a fluff? No. If you're playing this, you're more of a fluff gamer. Take whatever you want. Have fun.
Yeah. And yes, you're right. It's going to look pretty as heck, but you're not going to win any games.
All right. The next one is Milan. They have the special rule of being able to take or designate a non-mercenary Hearthguard unit in your warband as having resilience 1, and every time it's counted as every time it's this is too difficult. Every time it's targeted by a target ability on the board, it counts as being disciplined. So you don't need to worry about the order of operations to ensure that you reach the disciplined status. Okay, I think this is pretty good. You have ways of getting rid of fatigue with the against all comers, so that's pretty sweet. So that kind of synergizes a little bit with the resilience as well. I think all in all, you need to have. I think the way this supports the playstyle is that if you want to do a lot of damage, you're gonna have to take a big unit of Hearthguards.
Yeah.
So this supports taking the 2 points in one big unit, and then they have the extra bonus. You keep your guys alive, and you just focus on like resting them in your turn and doing against all comers in your opponent's turn to make sure that they are nice and rested. But then they are kind of like a Death Star. So I think it's kind of like everything, all the focus of your board is going to be on them, and then everyone else is just playing support. So very, very cool playstyle, but also if it goes wrong, it goes very wrong. So there's that.
Yeah, if you lose them, you lose the game, right? And if you don't lose them, you win the game. It's pretty easy. They're super, super tough with all your armor increases and with your way of shedding fatigue. But if they die because you made a mistake or you rolled badly, then they're just gone and you lose the game. It's very one-dimensional, but I think it works.
Yeah. All right. We also need to go through the unit options. So there, your Warlord and Hearthguard, they have to take barding on their horses. They can't have any other options. Your warriors are either on foot or mounted on horses. And then finally, your levies with crossbows. So there, I think you would have to do the 2 points of Hearthguard, and then I would probably take 1 point or 1.5 points of levy with crossbows, just for some shooting support to keep other people with horses kind of at bay. And then the rest I would just take warriors either on horse or on foot, just to give you like the bodies required. And then just make sure that you split them up sufficiently to get lots of dice for your Hearthguard unit to become a Death Star.
Yeah, I agree. That's the playstyle for Milan. Yeah.
Okay, nice and simple.
Okay, next up is the next two are really, really cool, and I can't decide which one I like more. So let's just go into Naples. And they have the special rule that whenever a unit of mounted levies activates to charge, so spoiler, they have mounted levies, and my cat is sitting on my book, so let me move him. Whenever a unit of mounted levies activates to charge, its figures have an aggression of 1 in the ensuing melee. So this rule doesn't apply to mercenaries. That said specialists, but it means mercenaries. So your mounted levies punch hard. And it's really cool because they, for 1 point, you get the same punch when they charge as a unit you usually pay 1.5 points for. And that's incredible because it does exactly what the board wants. It generates your more attack dice per point invested, basically. And they're just 4/3 bodies. So yeah, they die to shooting, but shooting levies is you lose. I mean, if you find yourself shooting levies in a game, you know you're losing right now. So that's okay. And then fighting them with their armor 4 isn't fun. So I feel like these guys are incredible. Insane, and what I probably would consider the strongest of these factions. But they have one downside, and it's let's go into the equipment options. There it will be clear because their Warlord and Hearthguard are on horses, and they can have barding. Their warriors have no equipment, and the warriors have crossbows and pevises, so they're quite slow, and they still can't close ranks, but they're really nice when being shot. And then their levies are on horses. But you can't have more number of levy units than you have Hearthguard units. So you kind of want to bring at least 2 levy units, so you kind of have to bring 2 Hearthguard units. So then you have 4 points of your warband that's just by default that has to be mounted. And then you have 2 points left that you can put on foot. And I feel like that's not that much and quite bit challenging, but it's probably worth it. Their levies are so good, and what do you think, JP?
Yeah, I think this makes it interesting. Like this 24 mounted levies is going to be insane.
Yeah.
So I think good luck if you want to paint that, but go for it. On the plus side, you basically have like a Castilian army after that if you want, with the amount of like mounted figures that you've painted. I think yes, unfortunately you have to take the Hearthguards, the 2 Hearthguards, but I think it's going to be so cool to see this. With the remaining 2 points, I guess there even you can. I would just take mounted crossbows to keep up with the with the with the mounted levy. Do a little bit of shooting, and then probably I don't know, just like one unit of warriors on foot or something. I guess even the crossbow pavises can be pretty interesting. It would be so incredibly slow though that you're gonna just park them somewhere.
Yeah,
Then,
you need the additional move S, right? These crossbows with pavises really love that additional move that moves them quicker.
yeah, that's true. So you can't get around it, but yeah, I think that would be an interesting one to both paint and play. So yes, like this one.
Yep. And
All right.
then for in just the example build, because I feel like the if you don't want to take the mounted crossbows because they again are mounted and that can be a real weakness, so you can just take 12 warriors on foot, and then 4 warriors just to generate a saga die and be there to make you disciplined more easily, or do 10 and 6 or something, and or 10 and 9 and 7, and have one unit be a crossbow unit to shoot still, and the other one be a unit to kind of contest something. 9 warriors, nothing to sneeze at. So yeah, cool build, definitely.
All right. Okay, so the final one is Venice. So the special rule for the Venetian warband is the Lanze Spezzate. So this is a supposedly, reading from the book, this means broken lances. So it basically signifies that they use a lot of mercenaries whose captain have died, and then they're just like employed by Venice. So during your orders phase, you can choose a friendly, non-mercenary mounted unit more than M away from your warlord. Until the end of the turn, this unit gains determination. Special rule and can't benefit from your board's advanced abilities unless it's a Hearthguard unit. So you get, I guess it's like a good way of getting like an extra dice per turn.
Yeah.
But the downside is that you completely, I don't know, I would do this on the Hearthguard, to be honest, but then it means that your Hearthguard is riding far away from your warlord, which has its own downsides. So it's a bonus and a negative. However, I think the coolest part of this is probably in, rather than this special rule, but the equipment options which you can take.
Yes.
So the warlord is either on horse or with barding. Same thing with the Hearthguard. Your warriors can either be on foot with no special equipment, on horses, or horses with composite bows.
Whoa. Did I hit composite
Yeah.
bows?
Again, you need to, this unit or the number of warriors with composite bows can't exceed the number of Hearthguard units. So that is a little bit of a downside. And then I think that really limits it to realistically about 1, unfortunately. And then finally, the levies can take crossbows. Do you want to dive into the combinations of composite bows and the battle board, Tim? I know you want to.
Yes, I do want to, because when I first saw this book, this was everything I hoped for. Composite bows in a new way to play them. So of course with deceptive maneuvers, so that's activate to move with a bonus distance. Deceptive maneuvers is literally made to be played with composite bows, because you move your guys up, they move even quicker, then they shoot, and you want to be within medium anyway to shoot, and then you can run them away again. So you're completely disciplined by just 1 die, which is super nice, and it synergizes so well, and the running them away with the challenge accepted is really good, and yeah, the armor increase isn't as impactful because they armor 3, but still really nice to keep them alive. It's one of the downsides of the composite bows that once they're caught, they basically just die, and you can kind of mitigate that with that. So reloading their defense, everything here is super nice for composite bows, because they just have so many activations. Man, I love this, and it breaks my heart to read it that the number can't exceed the number of Hearthguard units, because I feel like it makes this super hard to build, and I honestly still don't know how to build it to make it efficient. So rough.
All right. How would you build a Venetian warband, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know. I feel like you have to decide: do you want to have 1 or 2 units of Hearthguard, and composite bow warriors? So if you do 1 unit, then you probably have a big 6-man horse unit on your Hearthguard, and then like 11 warriors on composite bows. And if you do the other way, then you have or you go for 2, then you probably have 2 times 5 Hearthguard. Because for Hearthguard are usually just that tiny bit too small, and then you can do like 11 and 9 warriors, so 5 Hearthguard, 11 warriors, 9 warriors, and then you have 1 point left to do anything you want to do. So that could be a full unit of crossbow levies, that could be the pikemen, mercenaries, or the men at arms. So just something that has a punch in melee, and that you don't really have to support. And then with the 2 Hearthguard option, you have the really nice thing where you have one Hearthguard unit that can run away from your warlord and do all the cool things with determination, and you have the other unit that can stay close to your warlord and keep them alive. So I feel like the 2 Hearthguard option is the better one, but really tough.
Yeah, I think that for me, the ones which are interesting are Venice, Naples, and then Milan. The other 2, I think, are a little bit marginal. So probably not, unless you're very attached to those particular the histories and the fluff of those particular city states. But I think generally we also see. I think Milan is kind of like coming ahead in terms of how popular it is, but I might be wrong. I think people are still pinning their mounted levies, so maybe that's why we haven't seen that many of them yet for Naples. Okay, I guess we need to grade this now. We are coming to the end. Out of I guess we're like, what are we doing? Pizzas? Yeah, we're doing pizzas. So out of how many pizzas would you rate the Condottiere?
I honestly think that there's so much here and such good value abilities that these are probably like a 4, or maybe 4.5. If you're playing a scenario heavy scene, or like we have friends that always play scenarios and there's a lot of terrain, and I feel like these are a bit less, so probably like a 4. And if it's just a very balanced and normal playstyle, then there's probably a 4.5. I think they're incredible.
I think as well, this is like the Greek city-states. There's so many different things you can do with it, and they're sufficiently different that you're gonna get different playstyles out of it. So
Yeah,
I think in terms of just replayability and also just the strength of the board itself, it's not like an easy board, but I think it's a very powerful board. So I would say also for pizzas.
Yeah, 4 pizza sounds good. Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, we have come to the end. Age of Chivalry. Are we actually? I think we still need to cover all the specialists.
I think then that's the next episode.
Yeah, never mind. This is not the last episode. This is before last episode. We also have a voicemail. Tim, do you do the honors?
Yes, absolutely. I'll play it.
Hi guys, I'm new to Saga and really enjoying your podcast. I find it very useful. Query for you. Is there one on the Crusades themselves from Age of Crusades? I can't find one on the Crusades or the Crusaders. I'm looking forward to trying Saga and look at the Grand Melee in a couple of weeks. Okay, thanks. Bye. And thanks for all your work. It's fantastic.
So very, very nice, quick little message asking you about the rest of the Crusades factions, and JP, we're definitely gonna jump back into those once we're done with Chivalry, and that should be in 2 episodes, so probably like 6 months. And yeah, Thank you for your very nice voicemail.
Thanks a lot. We'll put the number for the voicemail up again. I think we've kind of neglected it. But I'm actually really looking forward to having another deep dive into the Crusades factions, especially after
the FAQ was really cool.
Gigantic, the FAQ really revitalized it. Also nice to see now that I guess Chivalry and Crusades are being mixed as well. So I think more than ever it's relevant.
Yeah.
So I think on the kind of like the hobby side as well, I'm looking at I'm building a Ordenstadt warband with like the parry kit to kind of fit into the Grunwald like 1400s era to use it as like multiple different options. So I think lots of like hobby juices flowing. It's gonna be cool, and like just lots of. It's like one of these OG books that are really cool. So, all right, I think we're looking forward to that. This one is long enough, so let's shut it down. Shut it down, Tim. Do you want to take us out?
Yeah, right. All right. So thank you very much for listening, and look forward to. So that's the last faction for the Chivalry, but look forward to the podcast on the mercenaries. And in the meantime, you can also hop on YouTube and look at a shorter version of the like a summary of what each mercenary can do. But JP and I are probably going to talk about it a bit more in detail. So look forward to that, or have a look, and that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.
Yep, thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.